Another candidate on the trail today, I think speaking in full voice, is former Congressman Will Hurd. He will speak with voters at the Iowa State Fair, and Congressman Hurd joins us now. Nice to see you, Congressman. I saw you celebrating yesterday that you had reached the 40,000 donor threshold, which you need to cross to get in next week's first Republican presidential debate. You are not yet, I believe, at the polling threshold. The latest Fox News national poll has you not even at 1%, which is frankly no change since June. So how do you get to 1% in 3 polls by next week?
Sure. Well, John, thanks for having me on, and I won't whisper. Here's the reality. We were excited about hitting the 40,000 campaign donor threshold. Just want to thank everybody that believes in us. We still got to keep going, so still keep going to hurdforamerica.com. We've had 2 national polls where we've hit the polling requirements and 1 state poll. We have just 1 more poll, whether it's in another early state or national poll to go. So I feel good about that, about being able to be ready to be on that debate stage, which we're planning on happening. I feel confident we're going to be in Milwaukee on Wednesday.
So if you don't get there, I know you're planning on it, I know you're hoping for it, but your competitor, Francis, go ahead. Yeah.
I'm not gonna. My goal is to be on that debate stage. We're confident that we're doing that, and that's what we're planning to do.
Well, Francis Suarez, the mayor of Miami, he says, I think any candidate that doesn't make the first debate should think long and hard about it because time is valuable and you shouldn't be taking time or trying to take away time from people who are fighting to get their message out there. He's running against you. He says if he doesn't get to that debate, it indicates he likely will drop out.
Sure, and I think folks like the governor of New Hampshire, Chris Sununu, has also talked about how if there's no pathway to victory towards winter, then people need to start thinking about consolidating. And I think that's pretty sound logic as well. But for me right now, we're going to focus on debate prep and getting ready and getting ready to speak the truth to power. I'm not going to be like Ron DeSantis and defend Donald Trump, which is absolutely crazy. But I'm also going to be articulating a vision of the future.
Well, let's talk about that, Governor DeSantis, because this leaked memo from his super PAC appeared in the New York Times that appeared to be giving instructions to Ron DeSantis about just what you were talking about, perhaps defending Donald Trump. I'll read from the New York Times. The debate prep memo urges DeSantis to defend Trump when Chris Christie attacks him, with a specific suggestion for an attack line accusing Mr. Christie of appealing mainly to Democrats. Trump isn't here, so let's just leave him alone. He's too weak to defend himself here. We're all running against him. I don't think we want to join forces with someone on the stage who's auditioning for a show on MSNBC. What do you think of defending Trump as a strategy next week?
Well, first off, this wasn't a leaked memo. This was a memo that was posted to a website. And so this was a level of coordination because the Ron DeSantis campaign is circling the drain. The fact that they're having to cut so much staff, they don't have the resources to do their own debate prep, but the strategy itself is flawed. If you're afraid to take on Donald Trump, then you shouldn't be on that stage and you shouldn't be running for president. The other thing that was missing in that campaign memo was how do you articulate what your vision for the future is? It was just about attacking other people versus laying out a plan for America. So when I'm on that debate stage, I'm going to first answer the questions that's asked. You have 2 great reporters and journalists are going to be asking those questions, explain why that particular topic is important to the American public, and then outline my vision of that future. America wants someone who's not afraid of Donald Trump, but articulating a vision for the future. That's what that campaign memo should have said.
The frontrunner in the Republican race is the former president. All these legal cases are surrounding him. The individual that was supposed to be the likely candidate who could take down the current frontrunner, Ron DeSantis, has had a rough couple of months heading into a debate, very big debate. We now know apparently what a lot of the people who operate on a super PAC would like him to say and do at that debate. Walk people through this really remarkable story you, Maggie Haberman, Jonathan Swan have in the New York Times about this memo, all these documents for the debate.
Yeah. So we don't know whether Trump is going to be on that debate stage, but we do know DeSantis is the leading Republican who has said he will be on that debate stage. And it's a big moment. He's had a couple of rough months, as you said. And so he's getting a lot of advice, and really notably, the super PAC backing him put together a memo and polling and posted it on basically one of the company's websites that are working for the super PAC, saying what they think he should do. And some of this stuff is, I think at this point, undercutting him, because if he says the very lines they've outlined, how he should attack Chris Christie, how he should attack Vivek Ramaswamy, and how he should not, in fact, attack Donald Trump, it puts him in a box. If he does the things that the people advising him are telling him to do, then he looks like he's just listening to the people advising him, and that's never good on a national debate stage.
There's a reason, Basil, as a strategist, albeit for the other party, there's a reason that you're supposed to have some sort of wall between a PAC and a candidate, because it's not supposed to be all about unlimited money, but the money can go to the PAC, right? There's not supposed to be coordination.
Right.
And this is why I think your piece is so good about pointing out the history of this, that, oftentimes these plans go up on obscure parts of the internet. This one was like right on their website. Just explain to the American people the significance of this and what this sort of lays out to bear for everyone about how things actually work with money in politics.
Well, no pressure at all.
In 30 seconds.
In 30 seconds. You're right. There is not to be any coordination with super PACs. And oftentimes candidates may not listen to the super PACs, quite frankly. But they do raise, as entities, a tremendous amount of money. They can bring on staff members that the campaign otherwise would not bring on. And they can run ads and get information out to the public that the campaign might not, should not, or for some reason is hampered from doing. And so this some people would call it dark money, and that you could use that term or that qualifier for that. But the reality is they are a very significant part of the political process, and they can use some of those dollars to do the kind of research to be able to help a candidate. The candidate shouldn't know that, though.
Right.
The candidate shouldn't have any part of that. Maybe what they do is actually send that information out to the surrogates so that they can act in concert with what the candidate in the campaign are doing. But yeah, this is a big part of the political process. It's an important part of the political process. Not everybody agrees that they should exist, though.
Alyssa, we asked Governor Chris Christie when he was on a short while ago about he was targeted in the DeSantis memo or DeSantis Super PAC memo several times. This is what he said.
There is no DeSantis campaign. The entire DeSantis campaign is being run by the Never Back Down Super PAC. They've gotten all the people at the campaign fired that they didn't like, and now they're writing strategy memos and putting them on the internet where everybody can see them. Look, this just shows you it's not easy to run for president, everybody. And if you can't run for president in a way that doesn't create embarrassing process stories, multiple times a week, you certainly can't run the White House.
And that's my biggest question about posting this, allowing people like Shane to scoop it. Jerk move, man. But great to read. Because it just creates another news cycle. And then to Shane's point, like, how does this not get in your head as a candidate? Walk me through this. Yeah, as an advisor, like, what are you doing right now?
Governor DeSantis has the most to lose in the GOP debate, assuming that Donald Trump doesn't show up. He had sky-high expectations. He's only continued to go lower in the polls. And I think he's running into a problem that, frankly, some of us predicted who knew him in the House. He's a pretty green candidate. He, had some successes in Florida. He did not have a real strong operation around him. I mean, this is honestly the least of his worries. I mean, he had the staffer who posted a neo-Nazi video. He had the offensive pride ad that he put out. It's looked like amateur hour on the DeSantis campaign. And he had tried to argue that the adults will be in charge in my administration. At one point, we won't have leaks like the Trump White House did. They've got a leak and chaos every day. So I think he is in a position where I kind of expect to see after this debate someone else pass him as the number 2 in the race.
I don't get often opportunities to burnish my science fiction interests.
Go for it.
Blade Runner, one of my favorite movies, great line from that movie. The light that burns twice as bright burns half as long. And if you apply that to Ron DeSantis, he did so much at the beginning, all this flurry, all this anti-wokeness, and now he has really nothing to back that up. There's no more pathway for him. But your questions to Chris Christie are very important, because whether it's Ron DeSantis or Chris Christie, how do you try to make a case for a general election and still get out of your primary? 2012, Chris Christie hugs Barack Obama, then President Obama, after Superstorm Sandy, and spent every way possible to figure out how to explain that away. It's a similar situation that I think happens now. How do you approach Democrats and independents and say, I can win this general election, and you can't even explain how to work across the aisle to get out of your primary? That is a problem I think all of those candidates have.